Welcome to What the Mom podcast. You are listening to Doulas Petra
and Jacqueline.
Motherhood can be isolating and hard.
We are two doulas who want to provide a safe place to talk about all things mom.
From pregnancy
To birth.
to postpartum.
To parenting.
Join us as we have real conversations about real life.
Hello, you're listening to What the Mom. You're listening to Doulas
Petra
and Jacqueline.
Thanks for joining us today.
Guys. It's been a day and a week. I've not been feeling the greatest, so
yeah.
Good
and
job.
that was the last 3, maybe even 4 weeks.
Has it been that long? Yeah, your family just got over it.
Yeah, we were sick for so long.
Brutal.
At the same time, so it's one after another. It's that time of year, though, the winter.
Yeah, it really is that time of year. So make sure that you guys are doing whatever you can do.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, take care of yourself during the winter months. We're gonna most likely get snow tomorrow. Have you heard that? It's tomorrow.
I did hear that, yeah.
Finally, we've had the nicest winter. We've had no snow. We had it once, and it lasted not very long. And we've had multiple weeks without snow. So apparently tomorrow is the day. So hopefully we have some by Christmas.
Yeah, we'll see, because we're getting close.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
And today, what are we talking about, Petra?
Our topic is how to overcome fear and anxiety during birth. This is something that's super common. I think the stats are something like 80% of women have some type of fears surrounding birth.
Absolutely. I think my biggest one, I'm sure you could probably attest to this. My biggest one was intervention. And C-section. I had heard about it from a friend and she didn't have very good experience. And then, I don't know, I always just was scared of that. And I'm so grateful I didn't have to have any of that with my 3 babies. But it's a real fear for sure.
Yeah, and it varies for each person and could even vary each pregnancy.
Yeah.
I'd say first pregnancies, generally speaking, are usually more like general fears, probably. I don't know if you'd agree. Because you don't really know what to expect when you haven't had a baby yet, right? So it could be from stories that you've heard. It could be from births that you've been to or been around. It could just be the unknown, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say I had a little bit of fear my first, just with mostly the unknown. And then going into my second, I was super confident. But then the baby didn't breathe right away, needed help with a bag mask. And then I hemorrhaged really badly. So then my third birth, I had quite a few fears that I had to try to get through.
Like that you would hemorrhage again? Because that was the same with me too. Yeah,
I was so scared of that because I did not want to have that same problem again.
Yeah, and they do tell you if you did hemorrhage, then your chances of hemorrhaging again and even worse are higher, which
it's true.
Doesn't really sit well with you for sure.
And the more babies you have, they say it's a higher chance of hemorrhaging. And apparently a lot of people think that being a redhead makes you more likely to hemorrhage. And I was told this by so many people.
It makes you what?
More likely to hemorrhage. You're more likely to hemorrhage if you're a redhead, is what a lot of people say because of your genes.
I've never heard of that, actually.
It's not actually true. I did some research talking to a bunch of other mothers who have had babies and just like asking around and seeing. And there was a lot of other moms who had red hair who said they were totally fine. They had no other issues. It was probably the same.
Really?
The same numbers with redheads as it was to non-redheads. But
there's I never heard that
belief that a lot of people have. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that is crazy.
We were told this, so then it made Tom really worried about me hemorrhaging because he's like, well, you're a redhead. I don't know if that's true though. And that's what made me actually go and do my own research on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, I never even thought of hemorrhaging. Not at all. In my first, like, I was like, oh, baby's gonna come,
Mm-hmm.
And then after that happens, you're just like, it's scary in the moment, and you're like, oh no, like, what if it happens again? And then with my daughter, it did, and it was way worse.
Yeah.
So, but the third time I didn't hemorrhage at all, which I was super grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, my midwife, my third birth, was like, well, I would just feel more comfortable if you maybe had a hospital birth. And I was like, that's not an option.
Yeah.
She's kind of like, okay. And then I said, okay, I'll meet you in the middle. Like, if you want, I'll go get my blood done so you can see what my iron stores are at. And that made them feel better. But honestly, they recommended I went to the hospital, which I was not thrilled. So
yeah, it's true.
It's not fun, but the most important thing is healthy mom and baby. So
it's true. So I think our first point is probably goes along with kind of what we're doing right now. It is be aware of what your fears and anxieties surrounding birth actually are. So talking about them, thinking about them, trying to figure out, is there anything that I am actually really worried about? So like we've mentioned a few of ours, but there's lots of different things people can have fears and anxieties surrounding. So figuring out what they are.
Yeah,
so just
like the pain.
knowledge. Mm-hmm.
It's good to acknowledge, why are you afraid of pain? And then think of things that you can do that can help you to get through it with less pain. Like looking at maybe hypnobirthing like Petra did, and learning about ways that you can, help yourself in that fear or whatever. And it makes it feel not as scary because you're more prepared.
Yeah, it's true. So point number 2 would be writing down those fears. So this way you
really
can
important.
It. Yeah, because you visually see it. And by visually seeing it, you're helping kind of like bring it up, make it real, right?
Yeah.
It's just like how a lot of people find that journaling can really help them. It's the same idea. So
that too.
Yeah. So you write down these fears and anxieties that you have. So maybe your first one is, I'm scared of the pain of the contractions. Then your next one could be, I'm scared of having a C-section. And then maybe it's, I'm scared of hemorrhage, like whatever it is, right? Write anything that you have a fear of, write it down.
Tearing. That was a huge one for me. I was like,
that's true. Yeah.
Please, God, please.
Yeah. Some people have like a really big fear of pooping during labor too.
Pooping?
Yeah.
Oh, huge.
Like to me, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I'm pushing a baby out. I don't care. But some people, that's a really big fear. And that's okay if it's a fear. It's something you have to figure out a way to overcome.
Yeah. In the moment, you're just like, you might think that before you like go into labor and stuff, but then like literally they do say like check your dignity in at the front door. Like it's gone. Like you'll labor naked. I never thought I would be one to like labor naked, and you just don't care.
Yeah, it's true. You don't.
You just don't care. I don't know. Like that's the easiest way to put it. So
yeah, that is true.
The crazy thing. It is so funny.
Things do change once you're in the moment, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So point number 3 would be to educate yourself about whatever those fears are that you wrote down. So I don't know which one we want to use for example. So like you were saying about like the fear of pain, right?
Fear of pain,
to learn how to deal with it. Well, that would be educating yourself. So you're going to learn like ways to educate yourself would be, first of all, being aware of what your body's naturally doing. So how the anatomy works. Like, how is your uterus actually moving when you're having contractions? How are the hormones working together to help create these contractions and bring your baby down? What happens if you tense up? It makes it worse.
It
So you need
makes
to
it
not do that, right?
100
Yeah.
times worse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you can look into doing classes. So if you want to do hypnobirthing classes, if you want to do the Bradley method, what do they call it? Bradley breathing method or whatever. They have birthing classes.
Yeah.
There's I'm trying to think the different kinds of childbirth classes. There's like generic childbirth classes or specialty classes, like those ones. There's a whole bunch of kinds. So you can figure out what suits you best, what you think you'd like to do, and you could do those.
Yeah.
I would say write down what you already know about your fears. Write down a question of what you want to figure out. Educate yourself, whether that's taking a class, whether that's watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, talking to family and friends, whichever. And then write down what you learned.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like what your takeaways are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just like it makes you feel more confident too in how you are going to do during your birth and stuff. If you just go in blindly, then if things arise, you don't know how to handle them, right? Like it could help prevent a lot of issues down the road that could happen.
Absolutely.
So I definitely think that educating yourself is huge. Like educate yourself about delayed cord clamping, educate yourself about vitamin K, you know, like all those things. Because I mean, I've talked to friends who have gone to doctors and they just don't tell you anything like that. It's just like, you know, my friend didn't even know that she could deny checks, like cervical checks. She's like, what, you can do that? I'm like, well, you can with a midwife. I don't know if you can with a doctor because they make it sound like it's like a liability, right? But there is options. Like there is a lot of options. You just have to research what they are.
Yeah. They make it sound like you can't do certain things, some doctors. Some of them are great, but then a lot of them will make it sound like this is the only way. But you have to remember that they work for you. You're the one in labor. So even in Canada, where we have public health care, we don't notice it the same because we're not paying out of our pocket immediately, like right then. But technically, we're still paying them. So we work for or they work for us. So that means we do have the final say in what we do and don't want to do. And they are obligated to let you know the risks of certain things or whatever, but then you still have the choice.
No, you're right. Absolutely. It's just funny that, I mean, she had no idea, right? And then she was like, well, maybe, you know, if I do have another one, maybe having a midwife would be something that she would look into, you know? So at the end of the day, whatever you guys feel is best for you and you feel more comfortable, right? Because that's when you're going to be able to deal with those anxieties and fears a little bit easier. So
yeah, that's true. So
what's our next point, Petra?
The next point is prepare for your dream labor. So this is now that you've kind of sat out all of your fears and anxieties about birth, you need to think to yourself, okay, what does my perfect labor look like?
Yeah, like if you want who you want there, if you want music, if you want, water birth, for sure.
Yeah, all of the things. So this is where you could use the birth plan like we talked about in our last episode. If you haven't listened to that one yet, you can go back and listen to it. We talked about what a birth plan is and how to make one. And the birth plan that's basically just doing this. You're deciding what is the perfect birth for you. What does it look like? What you do and don't want. So this, like you said, it includes like the location. So do you want to be at home? Do you want to be at a birth center? Do you want to be at a
Yeah.
hospital? Do
Yeah.
you want a doctor or do you want a midwife? Do you want to have, who else is going to be there? Do you want only your spouse? Do you want your children? Do you want a doula? Do you want a friend? Do you want your mother or your mother-in-law? Anybody else,
Yeah.
right? I guess it would include like the things that you want. Do you want a birth ball? Do you want a TENS machine? Do you want essential oils for the smells?
For
Do you
for your labor.
want
Yeah.
hymns? Do you
Yeah.
want do you want to make sure the environment, like the room is quiet?
Do you want candles?
Yeah,
Music.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you think through all of the things, like just close your eyes and picture yourself in labor,
Mm-hmm.
the perfect labor. What does it look like? And
Yeah.
that's what I did with my fourth birth, and it was so much more beautiful than my ones before that, because I finally got through all of the fears that I actually had before previously. And I was like, you know what? I can have a good birth. I'm going to have a home birth because that's what I want.
Yeah.
And I like being surrounded by people. I don't really need the help, but it's nice to know that I have that community. So I like the people around
Yeah.
me. I wanted to have a water birth, so I made sure I had a birth pool. I wanted it to be fast, but not so fast that it was too intense. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to hemorrhage. I was going to be able to stay home and not transfer. The baby was going to be born quickly. Like I envisioned all of these things, and it happened.
Yeah.
So that's like your plan A, right? Your plan A birth. But it is important to always think about a plan B birth as well, because sometimes there are medical reasons why things can change, like you experienced with your third.
Yeah, it's true. I wanted to have a home birth and it didn't work out that way. And I was so upset because I was like, well, what the heck? I've already had 2 kids. I know what I'm doing. Why can't I have a home birth? I was so
Yeah.
mad at Petra. I was like, what the heck is going on? This makes
Yeah.
0 sense. But God knew that there was a bigger picture,
Yeah.
and He saved me from something that could potentially have really caused a lot of issues with nursing, with like connection to baby, with all kinds of things, because having an ambulance ride without my baby would have been torture, would have been awful.
It's
And
true.
so, like I didn't want to go to the hospital, but it ended up going the way it was supposed to. And I was so grateful because I only had to be there for a few hours, an hour and a half, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes before she was actually born from the time I got there. Like you have to, at the end of the day, just want to be safe, mom and baby. That's the most important thing. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if I ever had to have a C-section, if it was a last resort, obviously I would. It would be my first choice, or my second, or my third, But at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And I know you would do the same thing also to have a healthy baby. So,
That's true. You can have your like perfect birth as your plan A, but then you need to have your backups. Like, what if the umbilical cord came out before the baby? That's considered an emergency, and you'd have to go to the hospital if you're having a home birth.
yeah.
But then in those situations, you have to, if you prepare for it, it's much easier to deal with it if it does happen, because then you've already taught yourself, okay, this doesn't need to be a fear of mine because I'm thankful that I have the ability to do this. Where some places in the world they would have nothing they could do and the baby could die.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have those opportunities.
Sorry, my child's loud.
She just doesn't want to sleep.
This is mom life, y'all. It's crazy over here. She just yells at me, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy.
She doesn't like that you're talking to us instead.
No, she's just something else. We just love our children, but sheepers, they drive us crazy.
Exactly. So point number 5 is build your support team.
Oh, yeah.
So this
That's
is when
important.
you decide who's going to be a part of your birth. Is it going to be the doctor? Is it going to be the midwife? And then when you decide which one you're going to have, you need to find a good one, the right one
Yeah.
that's good for you, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to be comfortable with someone who's going to be there when you're bearing it all, literally. Who else do you want to have at your birth? So these are all the people that you can think of. And there's no right and wrong answer. It's an individual answer, right?
Yeah.
If you want to have lots of people there, then you can invite them. I mean, hospitals usually have rules on how many, but you can check ahead. But if it's a home birth, it's totally up to you. Maybe you want it to be more private, and that's okay. You're allowed to say no to everybody else.
My husband was the one. He was like, no. I'm like, okay, fine. You also, it is about your husband too, a little bit. So, you know.
Maybe
I mean,
it wasn't.
I know what you mean. I know what you're going to say. But it's like you want them to feel, I don't know. I wanted him to feel comfortable too. So, I mean, it's fine. Yeah. It all works out, but.
Every relationship is different in how it works and what you decide, right?
Exactly.
For me, there's other things that I let my husband kind of make a decision on, but there's some things that I was like, no, I'm the one who's giving birth. It's up to me.
You're like, I'm choosing what I want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know some people, they also have anxieties over like, oh, I want to have my mother at the birth, but then my mother-in-law is going to be really upset that she can't be there, right? They have
yes.
So that's something else that would be important to kind of address during pregnancy before the time comes to decide, because you don't want to wait until last minute to make that decision, because that can delay labor. Like it can make it longer, it can make it drawn out. It can,
if it stresses you out also, then it might not be a good idea. And it's okay. It's okay to say no.
Yeah. And you don't need to. Oh, she's loud.
But yeah, it's okay to say no. Like,
yeah. You don't have to worry about hurting another adult's feelings.
No, they'll understand.
Yeah, it's your birth, your choice.
Absolutely.
So then our last point, number 6, is find ways that move you from fear towards confidence. So this could be with the child education classes that you take. This could be with listening to lots of birth affirmations. For me, it was reading a lot of scripture, doing a lot of prayer. Spending time with Jesus. It could be hiring a birth doula. It could be hearing lots of positive birth stories. I don't know if you have any other ideas to add to
that. Yeah, you pretty much covered them. For me, that was a big one. Like I had my birth affirmations, and I really think that helped. In my situation, it just seemed really odd because things were just not moving along, and I was like, what is going on? Like, why is this not happening, you know? But those definitely helped to give you confidence, right? That's like the most important thing in birth is you don't want to be stalling because it's not a fun situation. Mm-hmm. And so absolutely my thing was, just going to the Lord for sure. And also just education, like, you know, that's huge. If you know what's coming before it comes, it also helps, you know, to calm your nerves. Like I knew I was going to go to the hospital. I had been told that for probably a couple hours before. So when it happened, my husband, well, he wasn't really shocked. He's like, well, you know, this is what she said was going to happen. You know, it didn't exactly make it easier, but I had an idea, you know, so you want do anything that you have to do to be confident when that baby, as soon as you go into labor, that you know that you got this. And it's not going to be pleasant, but you know, it's very possible to have a peaceful, you know, beautiful birth.
It absolutely.
I saw it with Petra. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I'm going to do it again soon.
And you're going to do it again. Like, how many weeks are you now? 11?
Just about 11 weeks.
Oh my
So I'm
gosh.
just about in the second trimester.
Just 1 sec. I'm going to unplug my tower. It's too loud.
Oh. Yeah, so I get to go through this whole process again. But thankfully this time around, I feel more confident going in, and I don't have as many fears that I have to work through this time. So
Yeah.
I think back to some of my other births, and I know I'm much more confident this time because if I close my eyes and I envision myself going into labor,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scared. Whereas, like with my second and third birth, my fourth slightly, not like that bad, but slightly, I did have a little bit of fear going into it, like worried, like, oh no, like what's going to happen if this happens or if that happens? Like some of those fears came up. So now that I've kind of learned more about it, I'm able to do exactly what we're talking about today
Yeah.
and kind of overcome some of those fears.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm actually really excited for birth now. Like the more I try to overcome these fears, the more I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And we'll be able
And
to
it
share
will
with
be a
you guys.
beautiful, yeah. It will. It'll be perfect.
Yeah,
You'll do it just like you did the last time.
definitely will.
Do it like a boss.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is possible.
It is so possible. And if you guys have any questions and you want us to address anything, just put it in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that you subscribe, follow, like, and share with anyone else that you think would be interested in our videos. It means a lot to us that you guys are watching and that you're sharing it with people. I mean, we
Yeah.
started it because we're passionate about it anyways, but the more people that we can reach, the better.
Yeah, because birth is a huge thing, right? And just being a mom and everything, it's a lot.
It definitely
And
is.
we just want to provide value to y'all because we know that, it's important to have that. So
Mm-hmm.
we hope you learned something.
Exactly. So until next time, what
What the
the
mom?
mom